Okay, so we're back. We're coaches reading some Reddit stories and just kind of giving our tips, answering the questions, so on and so forth. So this question is, I keep pulling my hamstrings. What can I do? About 8 weeks ago, I pulled my hamstrings on both sides. That's a rough day. Specifically, the innermost hamstring. I don't know what it's called. Semimembranosus, if you give a damn. I've spent those 8 weeks recovering from it. It took strangely long to recover in the first place. From my experience with pulled muscles, on Friday, I tried RDLs again for the first time. I did them with the lightest weight dumbbells that I have. It barely felt like a workout because I didn't want to go too hard. And pull the hamstring again. They pulled them again. How can I prevent this?
Did he say, did he say a timeline or just like a long time?
They said like they recovered for 8 weeks, and then their first try back, they went super light on RDLs. I don't know if it was, usually when people say RDLs, they mean single leg RDLs.
Yeah.
RDLs are Romanian deadlifts, if you don't know. And Romanian deadlifts.
Or straight leg deadlifts is another kind of.
Romanian deadlifts are on 2 feet. And so single, but usually people are saying RDLs, they mean single leg. Mm-hmm. So what can they do? Well, there's a lot. I feel like this is our answer to all of these. Our start is there's a lot of unknown.
Yeah.
My guess, staying within our scope, assuming there's nothing structurally wrong, because that's a doctor thing. Mm-hmm. It sounds like we always look like hip mobility is always the first thing to look at. Mm-hmm. It sounds like there's a limitation there, and because there's a limitation, your body is compensating, and it's beyond compensating. It is going straight to pulling the muscle. Mm-hmm. So something you might not want to hear, but I would, in terms of like lower body stuff, I would pretty much hit the reset button and stay away from anything like a loaded single leg RDL. That's a pretty advanced exercise, even if your mobility is green across the board, and you don't have any injuries, you're coming off of injuries, and just totally assuming that mobility is limited in at least your hips, if not also in your ankles and maybe your shoulders too. And all three of those can lead to muscles being pulled, and that doesn't even get into all the other stuff we yap about in other videos of stress and sleep and nutrition and water and so on and so forth. So I would look at hip mobility. I'd get an assessment there. That's where we start with everybody, and make the focus just getting your hip mobility to a point where it's cleared, and then you can reintroduce stuff like bodyweight glute bridges, learning the pattern of a deadlift, and a bodyweight single leg RDL is fine if that's what they mean here. But very slowly, I would not load it until you're, because I wonder if the pull was even fully recovered. Because for it to pull after 8 weeks of rest, did they really rest it? Like, there's a lot of unknowns. So, like, the simple answer, I think the hip mobility is probably limited. So, before you pick up weights and load deadlifts and glute bridges and whatever else you're doing, or anything lower body, honestly, I would get your mobility into a point where there's clearance for external load.
So, I will say that this isn't really that significant, but just for the sake of pointing out, I will say that when I see someone say they're doing an RDL, I assume they're doing a bilateral RDL. Like, I feel like
whenever I see somebody post RDLs online or refer to, it's always single leg.
Yeah, but I'm talking about just a regular person working out. I assume so that's what I'm saying. It's probably not that relevant. Either way, it's the same.
Everything I said, still same thing.
So assuming that it is. And the other thing is, like he said, he pulled it. We don't know if he got a diagnosis or if it's tweaked. So it's hard to say if he pulled it or if he tore something.
Let's just assume he's right, because we could hypothetical all
That's
day.
True. So yeah, the only thing that I would just say is, as far as getting an assessment, getting just a quick hamstring assessment isn't that hard a thing to come by. A lot of coaches and gyms offer them. We even offer them as a virtual option. We can assess people virtually and give you a score there. And what is probably happening is that what a lot of people think of when they think of doing an exercise right and getting the form right, I think a lot of people assume that getting the form right comes down to just mentally and cognitively, I need to figure out where to put my joints in space. But most of the time, when people get their form wrong, or their form is imperfect, or they can't do the movement right, or they hurt themselves. It's not that they just like cognitively don't understand where their body goes. It's that they don't actually have that prerequisite mobility to do it. Even if they know exactly what to do, their body's just not going to allow them to get there. So that's why, like, especially with a bilateral tear, I'm assuming that his hamstrings are just really tight and he needs to, or pull, whatever. His hamstrings are really tight and he just needs to mobilize them. So I would say, like, get an assessment if you have access to it, but even if you don't, a very safe introduction into mobilizing is assisted leg lowering. These are things you can type it into Google. You'll probably find the right exercise. Assisted leg lowering and just body weight hip hinges to a wall with a dowel. Those are like people who have not, like, nowhere near the prerequisite mobility to be doing any kind of deadlift variation. Those are things we start people with. So ideally get an assessment, but if not, at least start doing those things for like several months. And normally we'd reassess, which is why the assessment's important. At that point, at the very least, I would say in a couple months get assessed. But for now, you can at least start doing that stuff. So that's, yeah. He just probably has tight hamstrings and needs to remobilize. That's all I have. What do you have? Okay. You good on that one? Okay. Okay. So this one, I mentioned to you a couple days ago. It's a lot to unpack, but so this one is, who else is tired of people telling them they shouldn't keep focusing on losing weight? This person is 37 male, 6'3". Their starting weight was 260. Current weight is 215. Their goal weight is 195. And they said, in 2024, I have dropped all 45 pounds of fat, parentheses, likely more because I lift 5 to 6 days a week for 1.5 to 2 hours. According to my DEXA scans, I am still at 21% body fat. The last 20 pounds is important to me. I don't feel like I am yet in the body that I deserve. I wish people would stop telling me that I don't need to lose weight, to lose any more weight, that I didn't need to lose weight in the first place. We have normalized obesity. So much normal is overweight, and overweight is clinically obese. I think he said that kind of backward. Anyway, so I tried to play off the comment and tell them that continuing on my physical health journey is important to me, but it doesn't seem to stick with them. He does like respond to a few things in the comments, and most of it is just him pointing out that, like, getting to that weight is important to him because he wants to be able to say, as someone that was previously overweight and like 6'3", 260 pounds, if you're jacked, that could potentially be okay, but most of the time that is going to be overweight. So for someone that was like overweight, maybe overweight his whole life before this, it is something that can feel really good to get to that point. And that's kind of what he says in the comments. It's like, I just want to be able to say that I got to a healthy body weight percentage. And he mentions, I think this is in the comments, that like his current body fat percentage is still medically overweight. Now, just for transparency, it is technically, but only by 1%. Like 20% and below is considered healthy for men. That aside, so there's kind of like two things to look at here. One is that people that do not have an education in behavioral psychology and anatomy and movement really shouldn't be telling people what their goals should be. Realistically, even coaches aren't supposed to tell someone what someone's goals should be. You're just supposed to listen to what the goals are and kind of guide them in the right direction in the healthiest way possible. And I understand that, especially right now, we are in a body positive culture, which is wonderful because even if you are medically obese, you don't need to hate your body because of it. Those things don't need to go together. So it's wonderful that we're there, but I think what's happening is that there are a lot of like more fitness influencers that don't have the education or just like got started just trying to inspire people to exercise, are slipping into trying to coach people without the education on the nuance there of when it's appropriate to say, hey, let's not obsess about the scale right now, let's think about something else. So yeah, people don't need to, I mean, he was overweight based on his current body fat percentage. Medically, it was probably good for him to lose weight. It's just there are people that either are regurgitating things that they see online without any nuance or education behind it to have the right to do that, or it's people that they are maybe that same size and in that same place and they're not ready for change, and they don't want to see someone make those changes. So that is the one side of it. The other side, just to point out, is that like we as coaches do say that to clients reasonably often, but it's not just a blanket, like someone comes to me and they want to lose 20 pounds and I tell them, well, don't worry about that, do something else. If we have a client that we are saying to them, hey, let's not stress about losing weight, let's not make losing weight the focus, it is because they want so desperately to lose weight that they are self-sabotaging by being so stressed out about it that they either just the pure cortisol spike from the stress, or the like binge eating that can come from stress about losing weight is causing them to get into this kind of downward spiral. And while they're trying to lose weight, they're either accomplishing nothing in that realm or gaining weight. So when a coach that is educated and knows how all of this works with the psychology and the biology of it tells an individual client, don't stress about losing weight right now, it is because that is a step to help them lose weight by like refocusing on performance goals or things that are fun, so they can kind of let go of that and feel accomplished and motivated to keep moving without just feeling like every day is I'm taking a step backward because my weight isn't moving. I'm not accomplishing anything. I need to push myself harder, and now I need to burn myself in the ground. So it's valid for someone who's educated to say that to someone, but it should not, like anything else, it's not supposed to be a blanket thing. And I think that a lot of people are hearing that in like from body positive influencers that don't have the education to know when to encourage those types of things, and they're just blanketing like no one should ever worry about losing weight. If you're worried about losing weight, you're doing it wrong. And that's just not true. That can be a great path for people and a motivator, but not for everyone, and it's very case by case. I think that's like the gist.
I've just to like further your point of like it's a big difference between a coach saying like let's shift the focus from purely losing weight to like a family member going like, oh honey, like you don't need to lose any weight. That is like,
or a friend.
While they like mean well most of the time, sometimes it's people with some underhanded motives, which that's not like the majority, but like they're like trying to mean well and like say like you're fine just the way you are, but like that's not really your call. Right. Person being supportive. So just be supportive of people. Mm-hmm. Like if this guy was like 7% and still want to keep him losing weight, well that's a mental health conversation potentially. This is clearly not the situation. It's people being a little too overly, like we've overcorrected a bit in the body positivity. But to like further your point, just to put a bow on it, of like when we talk about people of like, hey, let's shift the focus from like if someone's goal is like losing 40 pounds. It's like, all right, cool, we've established that's your goal, but let's not wake up every day thinking about losing 40 pounds because it can be daunting and it can take away from focusing on the actionables because you're only focusing on the outcome rather than focusing on the process. So we say that to shift someone's mindset. It's being process oriented. Hey, rather than waking up and being like, I'm losing 40 pounds today, wake up to think I'm drinking water, I'm doing whatever their nutrition goal is, I'm going to try to walk X amount of minutes, whatever goals we've helped them lay out. Mm-hmm. And those are all spider webbing to losing the 40 pounds. So we're not just saying, don't worry about losing weight. Right. Just do what I say. It's way different. It's a totally different context and intent. Like there's a method to our madness there. If it's like some people, then focusing on it fires them up and it keeps them going. So it's really depends on the person. And so that's the big differentiator between like someone random or even an influencer and like a coach. Yeah. Trying to get someone's mindset off of purely only thinking about what's on the scale.
Yeah. It's not bad.
It's to focus on like, all right, cool, we've established that. Let's put that on the back burner. Now let's focus on what are the stepping stones to get there. It's not like throw it out of the entire kitchen, so to speak. I think that was my main point. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I thought of something else when you were saying that, and I don't know how this is going to come off, so I'm going to do my best here. I do know, and I've seen people say this, like, just online in general. There is a group a school of thought that I am certain, I know that this is the loud minority, but I have seen, but again, because people regurgitate stuff, there is a group that pushes that if you are talking to someone that is in a bigger body than you, and if you say to that person in a larger body, oh, I really want to lose weight, you are now being offensive to the person in the bigger body, which is very backward, because that works on the assumption that that person in the bigger body wants to lose weight. So it's an upside down thought process, because if you're truly being body positive, you wouldn't assume that you shouldn't look at someone in a bigger body and be like, they want to lose weight, absolutely, so I can't talk about weight loss. So there's that. I just wanted to touch on, like, that's another thing that people could be regurgitating at this person. And then there's also unfortunately, like, the idea that if you are working out often, you're obsessive. And he is working out 5 to 6 days a week for 1.5 to 2 hours, which is kind of a longer workout, but like powerlifting can do that. And I think that when people see that, because it feels so foreign, unfortunately, to what is like the norm right now, or what is the norm in just like the average person, that can be threatening. Is like when you see someone who has this like really like rigid workout routine that is so different from how you view exercise, it's easy for people to leap to like, oh my God, you're doing too much. You're gonna hurt yourself. Like, people, I used to get that all the time.
People get self-conscious too of like, oh, I'm not working out 12 hours a week. You think you're better than me? And
yeah.
like, that's like the fifth, like the crazy degree. But it's like they're like people's like insecurities will kind of come out. And I think that is the minority. I think most people who are saying this to him is like they're just like, hey, we love you no matter what kind of energy. But it's like, that's cool, but I don't love his goals. I don't love me no matter what. Yeah. So like, let me get to where I'm like super happy with me. So yeah, I think we covered it. I think we'll go in circles. Okay. But yeah, it's like, yeah, like let someone just be supportive of people. Basically, don't tell them unless they are truly putting themselves in harm's way, which this is a clear example that he is not.
Yeah, and even then, if you think they're putting themselves in harm's way, it's not, you probably don't have the education or the qualifications to talk to them about that. Yeah. You need to try to gently get them to talk to someone about it, because like anyone who works in any kind of realm of like behavioral psychology or like behavior change or anything can tell you that even with the best of intentions, you can do so much more harm than good. It is better if you truly think that they have some sort of problem to kind of gently nudge them in the direction of like a coach or a therapist or whatever you think they need. But like you just don't need to comment on it. People just need to stop commenting on other people's bodies and goals. Let people live and be happy. And if they're fucking excited, let them be excited about it. That's it. Yep.
See you next time.